computers originally in the 1940s were designed to solve problems of engineers and scientists. They weren't designed to play games. But when we use the term user interface, in the whole field of computing, of HCI, it refers to the place where the computer, the computational application comes up against the user, and what the user, how the user makes happen what's supposed to happen. In a lot of these applications, of course, that's only part of the story, because the application is supposed to compute your taxes or calculate the trajectory of a rocket to the moon or do something task-based. In games, I would say it would be fair to say that user experience is the game. The whole game is user interface. There's nothing but an interface. It's a simulation that is the experience itself. Hence, the kind of experience that Marcus is talking about, the emotional impact and the user interface come together in games in a very interesting way. And that's also one of the reasons why a lot of HCI people will tell you that studying how games are designed is a great way to learn about interface design in general, because games they live or die on the quality of the interface.
So moving back to the theory side, we'll hit Daniel again. Do you have any tips for how to make an experience better? What things should people be looking for?
I would say, that's a really hard question. I think understanding your audience and your target audience and your target user, not generalizing a single user, but really spreading the spectrum out for all different body types. We talk about IPD and whether we're depth sensing. I used to work in 3D television when those were really big. And I did a short film and got it into a show and showed it. And one of my best friends came, and I asked her how she liked it. Like, was it interesting? And she said it was great. Although I have to tell you, and I've known this person for 20 years, that I have a lazy eye and I don't sense stereoscopic depth, right? And so this entire, film festival, she watched with 3D glasses on, but not seeing that, right? And I'm not suggesting that we design for that lowest common denominator, but at the same time, that's an accessibility question, right? Like, how far does our scope of our, imagined user go? And I think that, understanding motivation of that user, their wants and their needs from a very primitive, basic level is important, because if you think about it, we are hacking, I hate to use that term, but we are trying to enter somebody's brain with a VR headset at a biological level. Stereoscopic vision, binaural audio cues. We are getting there with all of these other ways to talk to our nervous system and do these things, but does it work for everybody? And if it doesn't, can you scale it down or scale it up, right? And especially as people start to get VR legs, I think that understanding that every person is different, and you should be able to, at a granular level, fine tune it for them using the data that you have, is important to creating a good user experience, and just something to think about as you start in the design stage. What is it going to look like to 50, 100 different people that have 100 different features and things that they're looking for? Yeah, I think that's what I'd recommend.
How about you, Marcus? Tips?
Kind of just repeating what I said before about the experience. I think anyone that's looking to do something that resonates, that connects, that gets out of the hardcore technologists or hardcore experienced people who will fight through things, understanding psychology is huge. And if you can marry the functionality but come at it from how people really perceive and interpret things, it'll give a really good frame, not only for yourself, but for your team. Because again, most folks, I think, it's like, if you're watching a movie, you really don't know what techniques, Chris Nolan was doing with Oppenheimer to move it to a movie that's about a nuclear physicist that's closing in on $1 billion in revenue, one of the biggest R-rated movies in the history of films. On the surface, that wouldn't seem to be a movie that would connect and resonate just based on the plot or functionality of that movie. But how he expressed those plot scenes touched people in a way that made it connect. Even my wife wanted to see that movie, and she doesn't like that stuff. She's an action film buff. And so that told me the power of connection, emotion, and those things. And again, the Kahneman book was probably definitely the most powerful and influential. And he does a lot of references of other studies in his book about how people perceive and, using words, how things look, preceding things. All those things really help you understand, okay, how can I translate this ideal, this function, but how do I make it into something that people will like? So in my experience, what's happened is typically it takes as much time to do the experience part of a feature as doing the functionality part of a feature, and we split those up. So we identify all the features that we think are good, but with new teams, I say we don't do features. It's like, what experiences do we want this game to have, from UI, from on the field, off the field, and once we scope out those experiences, then we go and figure out how much functionality and features it will take to do each of those experiences, and then that'll help us figure out how many experiences we can get done in a set given time and resources versus how many features can we get done, because typically you can get more features than experiences, but in gaming, not non-gaming, it's better to, you don't want to have 10 bare bone MVP implemented gaming features because your game will be flat and won't connect. In the same way, if you do a movie without cool special effects or exciting chase scenes and you do basic of all that stuff, the movie is going to be flat. Same thing can happen in games. It's better instead of having 10 of those type of features, 4 really powerful, emotional, connecting, strong experiences where people will say, yeah, you need to check this out. This was amazing, even if it's short. And that gives you leeway to add on to that and scale up into something that's really interesting and powerful. I mean, it's kind of like for me, I remember when the iPhone came out, it blew away all the existing smartphones that had come out from Nokia, Motorola, and BlackBerry that were just big color screens with a bunch of keyboards on there. But a lot of people don't even remember when the iPhone came out, it did not have an App Store. The App Store did not come in until 18 months after the announcement. Then the App Store came out. But that initial experience was so powerful, Apple was able to add on apps later. I mean, it had iTunes, but they built enough credibility to add on more. And I would encourage everyone to just really focus on building powerful experiences and then adding on more function or more experiences later.